Want to live longer and better? I'm Dr. Jess, I'm a physical therapist, and in this podcast, I bring you real, science-backed strategies from physical health providers, mental health providers, and nutrition experts, so you can build strength, protect your mind, and fuel your body for decades to come. Longevity starts here. Welcome to the first episode of the Thrive Equation. And in this podcast, I'm going to be talking about everything related to longevity. And so what better topic to cover in this first podcast than what is longevity? And getting a better understanding of that, and also why am I even doing this podcast in the first place? So first, who am I? Why do I even have any authority to talk about this subject? Well, I'm Dr. Jess. I'm a physical therapist. And with that type of training, it means I earn a doctoral degree. And that degree means that I'm really good at understanding the musculoskeletal system and the neuromuscular system. In addition to, with PT, I've got extra training in lymphatics as well. So that means I've spent a lot of years working with individuals that, for whatever reason, life hasn't been going that well for them. It might be pain, it might be motor impairment, it might be some sort of breakdown in their nervous system, neurodegenerative illnesses, cancer-related secondary issues that happen, axillary recording, lymphedema, all sorts of different things. And what I've noticed over the years in my line of work, which is what happens a lot in our healthcare system, is that we in Western medicine are very good at treating something that's right in front of us, but we're not good at getting ahead of the next thing. And so in my career, that was burning me out because I felt like I wasn't able to actually help people get ahead of the next ailment. And then they would be called frequent flyers in the clinic. And so these were individuals that, let's say they had back pain and then something would happen and they would come back in with hip pain or neck pain or a fall or balance, or it didn't matter. And the term frequent flyer was used in a negative manner. And to me, it didn't make sense that we're blaming the patient that things aren't going well for them. It's kind of our job to make sure that they're prepared for life and that they're prepared for what they want to be able to do. And so I always felt like I was doing them a disservice by maybe discharging too early, not taking the time to educate on what they could and should be doing in order to lead that longer, healthier life where they have decreased risk of something else happening. And so hence, I kind of went out on my own, started my own clinic, and I do things a lot differently now in my clinic because I did go away from the insurance model for part of my clinic. I do have a hybrid model where I bill some insurance, not all, and then I'm cash pay for everything else, which gives me freedom of getting outside of that insurance network, of being able to help people actually spend time doing things that are preventative, which is really what I love, in addition to helping people get out of a bad place. And so longevity is something that even before I was a personal trainer, before I was a physical therapist, as a personal trainer, I loved helping an individual that was just wanting to better understand how to move their body so that they could get the most out of it. And it didn't matter if it was a runner in their 60s. That's listen, I'm having a hard time being able to continue to do my 5Ks. I feel like I should probably cross train more. And I was like, yes, that's exactly the answer. And, or it could be somebody that's younger. That's I don't know what to do. And I want to get started on the right path so that my time that I'm spending working out makes sense. And so these are all very proactive ways of thinking instead of waiting until I can't move or I've had a fall or I now have comorbidities. I'm on medications. I've had multiple surgeries. So what that means is that I really love getting information out in front of people that helps them understand that it really doesn't have to be that hard to achieve longevity. And longevity meaning longer quality years. So it's about increasing our health span, not just the number of years that we live. And I've had so many people tell me well, I don't want to live to be 100. I don't want to be decaying like that for the last 15 years. I'm but that's not that's the whole point, is that essentially you live long enough until your organs fail, and then ideally you die within a couple weeks. I mean, that's like the best case scenario. And not everybody gets that lucky. There are all sorts of different things that happen that we cannot get ahead of because of genetics, because of environmental situations, who knows? And at the same time, there's a lot that we can be doing that's quite simple to implement that doesn't take extra money. It does take time, but it doesn't have to be something that is not available to everybody. And so that's the kind of information that I like putting out there, is just arming people with knowledge, because knowledge is what makes you powerful. And so longevity of increasing our health span is something that can be achieved by anybody. Is it easier to be achieved by some because of resources, because of time? Yeah. Yeah. There's always going to be inequality. There's always going to be, like, for me, time is a huge commodity that I don't have a lot of. But there's other people that have more time than me. So I could feel like, oh, they have all this time in the world, so it's way easier for them to take care of themselves. Therefore, I'm going to not take ownership over my own experience and find my own solution. That person that has more time than me, who knows what else I have more of than them? And so we're each on our own path. It's not about comparing our path compared to somebody else's path. It's about saying, what do I want out of today? What do I want out of tomorrow? And what do I want 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now? What do I want those years to look like? And do everything you can now to be able to set yourself up for that success. So an easy way of thinking about health span is just how we think of retirement savings. So, which I know is like not that fun to talk about, but it relates really well, is that the little bits that you're able to put in now into those retirement savings that compounds over the next decades of time, it adds up and it makes a difference. It's the same thing with how we treat our bodies now. And a lot of what that is what kind of movement are we doing? How consistently are we moving? What are we eating? How well are we recovering? And how are we managing our stress? Nowhere in there did I say that you have to buy expensive things. It's about being strategic with the time that you're spending on a day-to-day basis. So, how do you prioritize the movement that you do? How do you prioritize the recovery that you do? How are you prioritizing what it is that you're eating, drinking, and what are you doing to help with stress management? And so each of those are different topics that I'll be covering each week in this podcast. And I'll be talking with other individuals. So obviously I do musculoskeletal neuromuscular health, which is a lot of the movement of, what do we do for cardio? How do we strengthen? How do we functionally strengthen? How do we think about our bodies in a holistic mindset instead of just muscles that I want to look good in the mirror? How can I get more than just that? Weight management, things like that. But I want to be talking with individuals that are really good in the mental health space and what's their viewpoint on longevity and things that we can be implementing now that anybody can implement, that you don't need a bunch of money to implement. It's nothing shiny, fancy, expensive. Nutrition, things like that. Nutrition is a whole world to unpack. It is actually super complicated. And it doesn't have to be. It can be if you want to kind of dive deep into the weeds. And so that's why we talk to professionals that have done that and are very good at understanding all of the complexities of food and what food does for us. And it's beautiful, actually, when you think about it. It's very, very cool. And so my challenge to anybody that wants to follow this podcast and to listen to this podcast is to know that it's always about taking the small, simple steps and just one step at a time. It's the opposite of being perfect. I tell all of my patients in any video you've seen me talk about, I make all the same mistakes. And I try my best to learn from them and show myself grace when I make a mistake and know that we're all imperfect. And as long as we're trying to do a little bit better tomorrow than we did today, then a month from now, a year from now, you're going to be like a much better person than you were. And you're going to have more knowledge and you're going to have more perspective. And you'll be able to then share that and encourage others around you, because this can be a pay it forward type of podcast where there's plenty of information to be shared. And it's not one right answer. We live in a world that's very gray, and longevity is gray. So my genetic makeup is going to be different than somebody else's. And so what I do for my movement is going to look different than somebody else. What I do for my nutrition is going to look different than somebody else. What I do for my recovery is going to look different than somebody else. And so I can apply concepts though. So in general, there's really, really large concepts that when we break them down, then it all starts to realize like, oh, okay. So as long as we're getting our heart rate elevated in some way, that is what's going to keep my brain, my heart, my lungs nice and strong, proactive for neurodegenerative illness. So I don't have to be a runner to do that. I could ride my bike. I could walk. I could hike. I could get on a rower. I could do high intensity interval training. Like all of those get the same result of elevating your heart rate for an extended period, ideally 20 to 30 minutes. You do that over the course of the week, and you're going to receive those same benefits. So it's not a one size fits all. Same thing with strengthening, same thing with stress management. What I do to keep my cortisol levels low and what works for me might be something different than somebody else. But we'll be covering all sorts of different ways so that you can try it out, see what works for you, and know that you're going to go through things that don't work. And you're going to say, I feel frustrated that this didn't work for me. And that's okay, because I have other options that I can still try. And so as you stay on this journey and each week learn something new, the challenge is always give yourself grace. It's never perfect. I'm never perfect. Nobody is perfect. And as long as you're better tomorrow than you were today, that's a win. So stay tuned each week and share the information that you learn, help to encourage those around you, and have people in your life that help hold you accountable so that you can work on all of this together.